So far, we've had a look at how static websites publish their stuff in this index.html file, and we had a look at how Node.js can produce a more useful version of a website by instructing the web server to do some stuff. Now we're going to use Express to make ourselves a folder that contains an app.js file and a whole bunch of other stuff that give us a shortcut to a more useful website. Okay, so we're going to do that. Now. Fire up the terminal. There it is, and we're going to this time navigate by CD to this folder, the My Apps folder. My Apps. Case doesn't matter, and you'll now see that we're in the My Apps folder. Of course, if we wanted to look what's in here, we could hit LS. And we could see what's in that folder. The web app folder is in the My Apps folder. So we're in the My Apps folder right now. Now, in an earlier lesson, you'll remember that we used npm to install something called Express and the Express generator. We're going to use that right now by typing these instructions into terminal. Now what's going to happen here is we're going to use Express, so we're adopting or we're leaning on or leveraging the functionality of other people's brilliance written into Express that says create a folder using Express, call that folder Jump Club. Jump Club's just going to be the name of our app, and that'll become clear why later on, but we're going to make a web app folder called Jump Club using Express. The bit in the middle, the view pug, it doesn't really need to be there. You can create one without it. But what this shows you is that we can instruct Express to set our web app up with some certain defaults. And the default that we're choosing to use here is to use the web view pug. Now, pug is a way of writing HTML in the way that we did in index.html that is a little bit simpler to understand, or it gives us some greater functionality. I find it simpler to understand anyway. We don't need to close tags, etc., like we did when we wrote our tagged HTML. And it also allows us to do certain aspects of functionality or code within our HTML that'll allow us to loop through collections of items, etc., and present those in the view. So I'm just going to take this. You can type it. It's not that hard. I'm going to take it and put it into the terminal. And I want you to keep an eye on this folder as I do that. I'm going to hit it now. And when I hit enter, watch what happens over here in the My Apps folder. We hit this one, and a new folder, sure enough, was created called Jump Club. The terminal tells us what happened here, and it's telling us that a whole lot of stuff was created. The Jump Club folder was made, and then a public folder was created inside that folder. And if we look inside the Jump Club folder, we see a public folder, sure enough. Inside public, there were some more folders made, JavaScripts, etc. So all that's happened here is, in the same way that we used make directory earlier on in our lessons to make a new directory, Express has done that and has gone further by making some extra files and some folders. Now we're going to learn all about these in our subsequent lessons. But what you need to know right now is that we already straight away have a web app, a working web app that can be published out of this folder. That's what Express does for us. And the way to do that is to simply follow these instructions here in the terminal. So I can copy and paste this stuff. CD Jump Club. If I put that in here, we ought to know what that does by now. It's going to change the directory and move us into the Jump Club directory in the terminal. Great. The next bit's important, npm install. Now we're going to learn a little bit more about what this does later, but for now, what you need to know is that the Express shortcut has given us some added functionality that we now need to embed within our app. So that's living within these folders and files, and we'll learn about that in a moment. But it needs to be installed. The instructions for installing are written in here, but we need to run npm install here in order to install that stuff. So I've done that. I've just typed that in and hit enter, and our web app now expands a little bit to install the stuff that's enclosed in those instructions. Terrific. Now I'm going to scroll all the way back up here again, because we also see now another way to start a web server. we're inside this folder in the terminal, remember, and running the app can be done by saying debug equals jump club star npm start. So let's do that. I'll copy that and I'll scroll down here back down to the prompt, and I'll copy that in here and hit enter. We see the Jump Club server starting, listening on port 3000. We learned about that before. And so if we now fire up a browser and we point it at something that we've already been working with, localhost 3000, the port is 3000, remember. And if we hit enter here, we ought to see a basic default Express website made for us already. So let's hit it. And there it is. So this, as you'll remember, is some HTML that's been created by our app, by Node instructing the app to present these two things. Great. So if you got this far, it's working. Subsequent lessons, in the next lesson, we're going to learn to start manipulating this stuff and to make it even more useful. But you can see that using Express has given us already a tagged website that allows us to, or that presents different forms or styles of text, all without having to do anything at all. It's just started us up. So we're going to get into the guts of this in a minute, but if you got this far, you're ready to take the next step.